Welcome to another video, guys. Enough time has passed after the patch for us to really see what the best decks are in the game right now. So in this video I'm gonna give you a top 5 best decks in Hearthstone for easy legend, talk about their mulligans, win rates and general tips, but we're also gonna check out all of the other working archetypes so you guys know what you should be playing with as well as what you're playing against. If you find the video helpful, a like and subscribe would be awesome. And I'm doing this video right after I found out both my freaking monitors fell off from the wall, but thank god none of them are broken, so at least we got that going for us, which is nice. Anyway, now let's get into it.
You are not prepared!
The first deck on the list is still gonna be Pain Demon Hunter, and this deck has been having some insane stats lately because it's very fast, very effective, and very much straight to the point. It has tons of phase damage, it has a very good amount of early game pressure, and after that you basically just burn off the opponent with all the damage you could be having from your hand or from your board with things like Dangerous Cliffside, the rocks from the Rock Skipper, things like Insect Claw, Hot Coals, Cane, heck even a Rana plus Acupuncture can work, and things like Infestation. You basically sit on the board nice and early and you chip away a lot of good early game damage, and after that you can just burn off the opponent with all of the rest of the damage you possess. We're even running Tortolon Storyteller in here, and you do have plenty of tribes in here, like demons, undead pirates, beasts, murlocs, undeads, Zephyrus is an elemental, the insect claw bugs are beasts, and the dangerous cliffside idiots are also pirates, and you also even have Ziliax in here with the Haywire module plus the power module, and that can be a pretty good play on its own. With the help of red card you could give a lot of negative tempo for the opponent, and you don't really need to be getting too much out of this either. You could just use it on some early game decent minion for the opponent, or just save it for a taunt, but you also have Cane for that, so there's that too. For the matchups we don't have that much stats on this one, but as you see you're gonna be crazy good against Quest Pallies and pretty decent against Protoss Priest, which is great. When going first you are gonna try to curve off as good as you can with your good early game minions like Battle Fiend, Brain Masseuse, the Spirit of the team is also great, Tortolon can be insane, Grim Harvest is an okay thing to be doing early on as well, even though it's not that amazing if you ask me. Ziliax, if you're curving into it, can be a game breaker against some classes. Insect Claw is also great. Rock Skipper is fine, the rest probably not so hot. On the coin, again, the top picks kinda remain the same. For other good Demon Hunter decks, this is the one I'm showing you with above 60% win rate, over 1000 games almost, and you can see there's a different variation with Mukla and with Silence in it, which can also be working great. We can also see things like Big Demon Hunters still being very cracked, 58%, 10,000 games. This is also super amazing, and you can definitely check out my detailed video about this one. It is a very fun deck with Califero and whatnot, so definitely would advise. Space Death Knight is also decent, and it's actually pretty good in top legend too, but for Diamond Legend not that hot, and as you see, Quest Demon Hunters still nowhere to be seen. On the number 2 spot we actually still have Quest Pally, and this has been actually not the case for quite a while. Like, Quest Pally has been good but not great for ever since the latest nerfs to it, but right now it's actually the second best performer from Diamond Legend, and you can still be hitting easy legend with this one if you know how to play it, which basically means play the green Murloc. The deck is really not that complicated to play. You have tons of Murlocs, and they basically auto buff your quest like that. Like, you really don't need me to tell you that. You have a good amount of card draw with things like Prize Vendor, Braingill. We're also running a couple of Murloc War Leaders so you can take people by surprise, and we also end up with Grunty at the end, which could be quite the bomb card on its own. We're still running the Violet Treasure Guild, even though you are running the Submerged map, which would be a low roll if you pick that from that, but still it is kinda good. I do have videos about this deck from not that long ago, it wasn't too recent either, but yeah, you can definitely check those out if you still for some reason don't know what to expect with or against this deck. Matchup wise, again, not that much stats apparently, not that hot against Protoss Priest it seems, even though that kinda seems weird. I think you should be actually pretty fine against those, and you should be fine against other iterations of Quest Pallies apparently, but not that much stats for other decks. We could try to see a similar deck with decent sample size. Here's one with 57%, that one should have some matchups. No, still kinda on the wonky side, but yeah, as you see, Protoss Priest definitely not that bad a matchup. For the mulligan, you play your quest on turn 1, on turn 2 you want to be dropping a good Murloc, like Murloc Tidehunter let's say, or a couple of 1-drops would also work. A Violet Treasure Guild wouldn't be bad, Rock Skipper is fine, Prize Vendor is also okay, and if you're curving into Hot Spring Glider, that can also be pretty good. On the coin, again, play the quest on 1, you could even coin out a 1-drop on turn 1 with the coin in this case. Again, look for a decent 2-drop, drop, and again, if you're curving into Hot Springs, that might be great. In this case, if you have a great curve already, Steam Fin Thief can also be great, like if you have a 2-drop into coin, 3-drop Steam Fin, that is also awesome. But yeah, all around, basically try to curve off with your stupid Murlocs. Aggro Pally is still also pretty awesome, as you see, 57 plus win rate, 1400 games, definitely nothing to scoff at. And we also even have a bigger sample size with it, even though the win rate is a little bit lower, but still pretty usable for Legends. Other than that, the rest is just iterations of these, anything above 50% at least. After that, we have Drunk Pally and Imbue Pally, but those are not very hot. On the number 3 spot, Beast Hunter is still pretty good, and it is indeed the best Hunter deck you could be using for easy Legend right now, given how the meta shifted. And yeah, it's still quite the same variation of a deck I showed you not too long ago, so you can definitely give that one a check. You still tempo out with nice early game beasts on the board, and the first wave of threats you have would be to build a very nice big RC Rampage, and if that actually sticks, then you buff it with Dynamancy or with City Chief Esho, and that is absolutely broken. You have plenty of ways to pull off a pretty good RC Rampage, because you do put things like Jungle Gyms and Dormant Sheep, so that way you are gonna ensure something is on the board for Rampage to grow. And you also have plenty of cool stuff like Dreambound Raptor, so you can get some nasty evolves, and same can be said for the Painted Canvasaur. Ball of Spider also helps you go nice and wide on the board, and they also give you some random bullshit you could be abusing. And the Workhorse is also pretty nutty, because it's a very sticky minion with plenty of beasts in it. Mother Duck can also be crazy good. Again, it's basically a 4 mana 4 beasts on the board, so what can go wrong? For the matchups here, we actually do have a very big sample size, and this is indeed from the latest patch, and you're gonna see that some of the Death Knights are gonna be really strong against you, and same can be said for some of the Demon Hunters, but everything else hella green, so again, climbing should be very easy with this one. But be prepared to have polarizing matchups against Demon Hunters and Death Knights. For the mulligan, again, name of the game is Curve Off, and the best things you could be doing on turn 1 would be things like Scarab Keychain or Catch of the Day. Dreambound Raptor can also be amazing against some classes. Remote Control for turn 2 is pretty nutty. Workhorse for free also. Fetch is also a nice card, even though going first, if you just fetch on 1, it's not super amazing. You would much rather do something a little bit more proactive than that, but draw 2 cards at the price of 1 mana definitely ain't no joke either. If you're curving into RC Rampage, that can also be pretty good. On the coin, again, name of the game is Curve Off nicely, so mulligan accordingly. Here's the list I'm showing you right now. 58.5% win rate, over 4,000 games, very, very strong. And we have several even better iterations of this, but with very small sample size, so who knows how good those really are. Buff Hunter is also still up there, even though it's not as insane as it used to be. But still, the high sample size, it's sitting at above 55, so if you still enjoy that deck, it's definitely good. West Hunter apparently is also very playable, even though the sample size is kind of small. It is very, very decent looking. And if you're really good with Hunter, you might even try to discover Tiki Hunter, which I have been seeing in Top Legend, but as you see from Diamond Legend, not that many people dare to play it. On the number 4 spot, we have a new inclusion in here, which is Big Spell Mage, and yeah, I already made a video about this deck saying it's strong. The video didn't do too well itself, but the deck definitely looks very promising, and right now it is indeed sitting at the top spots. It's a very interesting iteration of Big Spell Mage. It still runs things like Tsunami, like Watercolor Artist, King Tide, and Portal Master Skyla, but the rest of it is actually pretty aggressive. You have plenty of good 1-drop minions, you have plenty of good burn damage, you have discoverability with Primordial Glyph, and we even have things like Huddle Up, which could be very nice against opponents that can't really handle wide boards, like things like Protoss Priest, for instance. Definitely check out the guide if you want to know more about this deck, but now let's see what the matchups are looking like. And again, we have plenty of matchup sample size here, and again, Death Knights would be a problem, Beast Hunter can be a little bit on the negative, and same can be said for Quest Warrior, but the rest pretty good. For the mulligan, going first and second, Watercolor Artist is always going to be absolutely MVP. One of your good 1-drops can also be great, like Vicious, like Sizzling, or Violet. Living Flame is also nice, and the only fire spells in here you have are the Fireballs, which kinda sounds wrong, but I guess it's fine. Metal Detector can also be very good, especially if you curve off into it. And depending on the matchup, things like King Tide can also be insane, especially if the opponent doesn't have a 5-mana spell they would like to be cheating out. But basically, if you play this guy on curve on turn 4, the opponent is also gonna have 4 mana when you do play the King Tide, so they will actually not have access to any of their spells on that turn, so that can be pretty nutty too. On the coin, again, it's literally the same stuff, but here the King Tide is a little bit on the wonky side, because even if you drop this guy on turn 4, it's not gonna be that hot for you, and you definitely don't want to coin this guy on turn 3, because you're not gonna have enough mana to actually play a 5-mana spell on turn after, so it's very wonky this way. Here's the list I'm showing you. 5,100 games, pretty insane stuff with 58 plus win rate. Definitely very, very usable deck right now, same can be said for Elemental Mage, however. It's a nice, cheap, fast deck, so definitely check that video as well. Quest Mage is playable, but it's definitely not a meta breaker just yet. And Protoss Mage also on the playable side. I did make a video about it. Some people in Top Legend are actually doing quite good with it, but for Diamond Legend, not that hot it seems. And the last deck on the list is gonna be Quest Warrior of all things, and apparently this thing is nice and good against all of the aggressive classes out there, so you can definitely be using this if you feel like playing control. Quest Warrior does have quite a nice payoff, and it's one of the few quest decks that's actually doing really good right now. And this is a Quest Warrior fusion between that plus Terran Warrior, so you do have plenty of the Starship nonsense, and that really does work well for a deck like this. We have things like Yamato, Starport, Exeter obviously, Jim Raynor, and all of that good stuff, so yeah, the deck is actually quite strong right now in the current meta, and you can be doing a lot of easy, even though not so quick wins with it. I might do a video about this deck not long from now, so be on the lookout for those, but now let's check out what the matchups are looking like. So far we don't have much, just know apparently you're gonna be very bad against Protoss Priest it seems. As for the mulligan, here's what we have. Going first, you are gonna want your good Starport, the Ramp, Orlon Traveler, Quest obviously is always gonna be your turn 1, Shield Block is great, Elise can be awesome, Yamato can also make sense depending on the matchup, because God knows you're gonna be holding on to this if you face a Hunter. If it turns out to be Buff Hunter, you're gonna be very happy about this thing. Concussive Show can be okay, Hostile Invader depending on the matchup, and the rest probably not so hot. When going second, again, pretty much the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. This is the list I'm showing you right now, not the biggest sample size, but anything above 500 games definitely is worth mentioning with a win rate like this, so I think it was warranted to include it. We can also see Dummy Warriors doing kind of fun, even though a lot of small sample size variations of it, still above 55, so you can be playing those. And here's a very big sample size Dummy Warrior, which you could be abusing still. It is still a very, very good and strong deck, and I do have videos about it, so give those a check. Other than that, we don't really have that much to talk about here. There's this Taunt Warrior apparently, but not that amazing. It's basically still a Quest Warrior, but instead of the Terran package, we have plenty more taunts. And I did see a Dragon Warrior here and there, but I think it was just flavor of the month or something. For the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Death Knight, and honestly I do believe Control Death Knight is a very strong deck in the current meta if played well, so you might want to check the video I did not too long ago about that. But also, as you see from Diamond Legend, Menagerie Death Knight is doing quite okay, with a small sample size however. Here's a Leech Death Knight variation that looks pretty close to the list I showed you not a few days ago. Space Death Knight is also still up there, even though it's not the monster of a deck it used to be. And there's this new Stegodon Death Knight, which kind of looks strong, but honestly it is a very, very hit and miss kind of deck if you ask me. For Druid, Dollhouse Druid is definitely one of the best decks in Top Legend right now, and if you're good with this deck, it is very hard to actually lose with it. You can do some absolutely insane things like literally 200 plus damage, and it's not even that hard to pull it off as long as the opponent doesn't pressure you too much. Aviana Druid is also somewhat up there, even though we're gonna have to scroll quite a lot to actually see variations of it, and all of them are actually under 50 now, so there's that. Low Druid is also somewhat up there, which is kind of interesting, but yeah, it's really not that amazing anymore. For Priest, I gotta say I was surprised not to see Protoss Priest amongst the best decks right now, but here is the first iteration of a good sample size Priest deck. Like, all of these are under 500 games. Technically, we could have included this one, almost, but here's the first very good sample size variation with 1500 games, which is not that bad, but this is actually a Bandage Priest. Protoss Priest has 970 games with 57%. I'd say it's still a very, very strong deck. I'd say still Resuscitate is way too good, but yeah, apparently the meta kind of shifted against it, so there's that too. Fishing Priest is also still very playable if you ask me, but it's not as amazing as it used to be. Small sample size, not as amazing win rate, but it's still up there. For Rogues, some pros have been doing well with Ferak Rogue in Top Legend, but for the masses, as you see, it's under 54% win rate, so definitely not as amazing as people expected it to be. I hear Maxibon is doing crazy good with Psycho Rogue still without the Giants at this point, but from Diamond Legend, the deck is definitely way too hard for most people, so there's that too. And that's kind of about it for Rogue right now. There is Space Rogue out there, kind of looked amazing on day one after the patch, but overall, not that hot. And same can be said for Protoss Rogue too. For Shamans, Nebula Shaman has been seen in Top Legend for some pros. I have even thought about giving this deck a try, but as you see from Diamond Legend, it's definitely not amazing. And same can be said for basically every Shaman deck right now. None of the Quest, none of the Elementals are doing great, so there's that. And last but not least, we have Warlock, and here Quest Warlock is somewhat okay, but I did try this deck. It is very, very clunky, very unpleasant to be actually playing it, I gotta say. But if you want to be playing something different, this thing definitely is different. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed this meta report, and if you found it helpful, a like and subscribe would be awesome. Don't forget you can check me out live on stream on Twitch each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and thanks for watching. I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.